Good afternoon, my name is Laura. I'm undertaking a Master of Philosophy. My supervisors are Rebecca Russell-Bennett and Lisa Schuster. My study, which is titled Fruitful Engagement, Framing the Value of Imperfect Produce, examines the value customers experience when purchasing fruit and vegetables that deviate from what may be deemed perfect. Okay, so food waste is a rising global issue that affects each stage of the food supply chain. The unsustainable practices that lead to the production of such waste contributes to the increasing global carbon emissions and food insecurity both within developed and developing countries, as well as creating significant financial losses for all involved in the production, distribution and consumption of this food. The latest national baseline in the 2016-17 financial year estimated that Australian supermarkets produced over 200,000 tonnes of food waste, leading to multi-million-dollar losses across the sector. As an intermediary between wholesaler and consumer, supermarkets are shown to be responsible for setting the high standards based on size, shape and other aesthetic attributes that lead to further waste when imperfect produce is rejected. These standards are based on consumers' unwillingness to purchase and consume imperfect produce, demonstrating that engagement in this behaviour is low. Current research also suggests that consumers do not consider disregarding imperfect food at the supermarket as a behaviour that leads to an increase in food waste. Yet for those customers who do purchase this produce, it is not fully understood what value they receive through this behaviour. So this research will examine the value consumers may receive through the behaviour of purchasing fruit and vegetables that may be deemed imperfect. The relationship between customer value propositions, message framing and customer engagement will be investigated to promote engagement in this environmentally and socially conscious behaviour. The study uses an experimental design, so we'll be using a 2x2x2 factorial, which will test food waste frames through intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, self versus other orientation, and gain versus loss messages. The 4 food waste frames that I will be using in this study have emerged through recent research examining customer value propositions in the circular economy. The frames were drawn from qualitative data sampling startups focused on food waste reduction through redistribution or reselling the surplus food. So within the 4 frames, which are thrift, salvation, innovation and normalisation, are embedded customer value propositions. The thrift frame focuses on the use of limited resources, for example time or money, and is targeted at a thrifty consumer, intending to deliver value through the prospect of financial or resource optimisation. The innovation frame intends to influence early adopters by providing the opportunity to engage with new technologies and innovations with the intention of creating positive change. The normalisation frame delivers value by providing familiar and comfortable experiences to customers who adhere to social norms. And finally, through the salvation frame, the value of the food is emphasised. The embedded customer value proposition for this frame is participating in environmentally and socially conscious behaviour. Consumers observe value differently, weighing up potential positive and negative outcomes of their behaviour, suggesting that these frames can be used to deliver a value proposition to the customer. To build on the previous research, these 4 frames will be used to determine the effect of their embedded customer value propositions on engagement with imperfect produce at the point of purchase. I will be using Holbrook's typology of customer value as the theoretical underpinning in which to operationalise these 4 frames. The 4 customer value types, functional, emotional, social and altruistic, comprise of 2 dimensions: motivation, either extrinsic or intrinsic, or orientation, either towards the self or to others. Data collection will be conducted using a survey during which the respondents will be randomly exposed to one of these 8 conditions through a mock-up of a supermarket sign. So I'm at the point of my study where I'm finalising the manipulations for my experiment, so I'm asking for feedback if anyone is willing to give it. So here on this table, you can see each of the food waste frames align with one of the customer value types. So can you see that? The economic value aligns with the thrift frame, emotional value with the innovation frame, social value with the normalisation frame, and altruistic value with the salvation frame. And this is the copy of my 8 manipulations as they currently stand. So in each of the 4 highlighted areas, you see 2 manipulations. So we've got a gain message and a loss message, so you save a few bucks or don't waste your money. And the loss messages are indicated in italics, as you can see. So I have contextualized the frames for use in this study and included the definition of each in these brackets up here for your reference. So the copy must align with the respective motivation and orientation of each value type. For example, the message with the thrift frame aligns with the economic value type. Aligning with the economic value type must focus on the extrinsic motivation and the self-orientation. I'll just quickly expand on the frames as well. So the thrift frame focuses on the customer themselves and on the external motivation they receive through the behaviour of purchasing imperfect produce. So in this case, it might be a cost saving. The innovation frame must focus on the enjoyment experience by being an early adopter of this type of purchase. The normalization frame should appeal to social norms and is focused on how others respond. And finally, the salvation frame targets altruistic values and must focus on the benefit to the environment. If anyone has any feedback on those, I do consider myself a creative person, but not when it comes to writing. So yeah, that's it.